Hi, I'm Aaron from E4 Ministries, and if you come to an E4 Ministries event, you'll probably see me. I may be helping put a tent up, setting up chairs, running speaker cords, working with the food, or even preaching. But sometimes you don't get a lot of opportunity to share how you get to where you're at, why you do what you do. And, that's kind of what this is about. My story, about how Jesus rescued me from where I was at and where I'm still am to an extent with depression. So when I was 13 years old, I was kind of going through the normal 13-year-old identity crisis that I think all of us kind of deal with, or at some point in our life we go through that. And for me, it was 13. I grew up in church. I was a church kid, and that doesn't hold a lot of water because I went to church, but I was at a place in my life where the draw of other things was so heavy, so I found myself kind of living a double life. I was, one Aaron when I was around certain people, another Aaron when I was around other people, and at the end of the day, it became a really, really hard place to be, a really heavy burden to bear, trying to be two people. When I was 13, it all kind of came to a head. At the same time I was dealing with this identity crisis, I really started experiencing the effects of depression. And if you don't have it or have never experienced it, it changes the way you see everything. Things maybe are over exaggerated, overblown, or you just don't see reality as it is. You can't see the truth sometimes, and that's exactly what happened to me. I had a great family who loved me. I had friends who cared about me, but dealing with the turmoil of being the two people, I looked at myself and I got so disgusted with who I was, and not being able to be one or the other, and just because I knew who I wanted to be, but it was just that struggle. So you take that and when you start looking at yourself with disgust, you start to believe that everybody else is too. When you look at yourself and you don't see any value, you start to think no one else does either. And even though it wasn't true, that was where I was at in my life. I didn't think I was worth anything. I didn't think anybody cared about me. I just thought I was kind of on my own, and it was hard. I was just kind of waiting for people to find out, my deep, dark secret that there was two me's. But so I figured out how to remedy it. I had come up with a plan that one day after school, when I got home, I'd made a decision I was going to take my life. Like I say, you don't think straight, you don't know what's what, but that was what I was going to do. I had a plan, I had everything worked out, ready. I was up in my room, and the next step was, that, and I don't know, I knew God was real. I'd been in church, I'd see people be touched by Him, and I knew that all that happened, and even had felt it to an extent in my life. But that day, sitting up there, and I don't even know why. I do know why, but yet how it even broke into my mind with all the things that were going on surrounding it, all the things that I was thinking. But I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna give Jesus a shot. I want to see, maybe he wants me. So I just knelt down by my bed and I prayed. And, my prayer was, Jesus, if you want me, take me and use me, because nobody else does. And I was broken. I really was. I was a broken man. And, in that moment, up in my bedroom, man, I felt a peace. It was warmth like a hug, and it overshadowed all the depression and all of the fear and all the turmoil that I'd been going through. It had just, in an instant, in that moment, I knew. And people ask, how do you know when God speaks? And I know this may be not a great answer, but you just know. And in that moment, I knew that God said he loved me, that he wanted me, that I was his. And it changed my life. As a matter of fact, it's the reason I'm alive today. And it's the reason I do what I do. I still deal with depression. I would like to say that, it never happened again. That was the last time in my life, but it's not true. I deal with it all the time. It's a constant battle, constant struggle. People who are close to me, I talk to them about it. I let them know, and my wife, and she really supports me, and just talks to me, and he still helps me through it. He's the reason I can go through my life day to day. It's because of his strength. It's not mine. It's not mine, because I'm weak. If I was to do it in my own strength, if I was to try to do it in my own strength when I was 13 years old in my room, it would have been the end. But through his strength, I'm still here today. I'm still doing what I can to lift him up. And, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of hard to even talk about it. Because, obviously you want people to think that you're a strong dude and you do all the right stuff and everything's great for you. But I'll be honest with you, that's not who I am. I'm weak, and he is strong. And it's through his strength that I survive, and then I go day to day. And you know what? If my weakness shows his strength, and that's what I want people to see, that he rescued me, he saved me, and I'm living by his grace today. So if you do see me out at the tent, setting it up, spending all that time doing a bunch of crazy stuff, cooking some hot dogs, and you think to yourself, why in the world would someone spend so much time doing something so crazy? It's because I love him, and I know what he did for me. And he loved me first. When I didn't think anybody else did, and when I couldn't love myself, he loved me first. And that's why I do what I do, because he loved me.